Yeah, why is governance important to an individual? Because we are the ones who are running this organization. So if it begins with us, so if we implement good governance principles individually, we'll also, when we are employed, also employ the same things. So as I said, when the regulators and governments, and especially the International Monetary Fund, when they came together, they have created parameters and regulations that help organizations have good governance. And there are about 8 parameters. One is the board of directors. The board of directors are the ones who are appointed by the shareholders to run the organization. And so the back stops with the directors. Now, the directors, to ensure that they have good governance, they will ensure that they have performance management and controls. These are policies and procedures. They'll ensure that they have ethical standards and values. They'll also ensure that there's compliance. They'll also ensure that there's an ethical culture. And the big one, that the disclosure and transparency that is there is really what is happening. And you remember what I said, many of the organizations that went under had a very good financials. So more and more organizations are being required to give more disclosures. Then there is risk management, and then there is CSR. So these are about 8 of the parameters on governance. And most organizations, most of the have this as they try to promote governance and ensure that there's governance in the organization. I'll pick some of this and see how they can apply to us as individuals and as small companies as we shoot to grow and become big organizations. Now, the first one is the advisory board. And as you saw in the last slide, one of the big governance is been in the shareholders have mandated the board to run the organization. So why develop a personal advisory board? And I've said that this begins with being aware that you need others in your journey and you cannot do it all. The board will act as a sounding board to test your ideas and plans, and it pushes you into uncomfortable situations. It moves you away from your comfort zone, and it provides advice and feedback. For companies or small organizations, even if they don't have a formal advisory board, they will start with an informal advisor who they can share their ideas or ask advice. But as they grow, they will then have a formal advisory board. Before then, they have a fully a full board. And then why should we be? Who should be part of your advisory board? We usually say when you come to looking at who should be in your board, you should look at first, what are your gaps? Take an inventory of your own strengths and weaknesses and what you want to achieve. So, and then surround yourself with advisors who will fill these gaps. And the same thing for companies. They actually have need to have a composition of a mixture of the disciplines, age, gender, and ensure that but they will only fill these gaps after ensuring that they have looked at their gaps and then pick up the person who will come and help them. So this is these are the people who should be part of your advisory board. And what are some of their characteristics? For an individual board, there should be people who can tell you as it is, who you trust, and who are not competing with you. Yeah, so then how will the board keep you accountable? It will give you some advice, which then you should implement. It will help you determine where you are and where you want to go, and require you to put in place maybe a vision board, complete your wheel of life to enable you meet your desired goal effectively and efficiently. So that's about the advisory board. Remember, this benefits us even as individuals. As a startup, you need advisors. And as you grow, you need an advisory board, and then move on to have a full board. There's a difference between an advisory board and a full board, because advisory board, they have no legal, they are legally, they will not be held to account on any of the decisions, because the owner is the one who remains accountable. But if you're appointed as a full board, then there are fiduciary duties, and there's a duty of care which you should then implement. So as you prepare for that, you can start with an advisory board. So I will ask you a question. Do you have an advisory board? Or do you surround yourself with people who complement you, who can then help you make better decisions? Because it starts with being aware that we need others because we have gaps. So that's the advisory board, and think of it also, that's where governance starts with the board, because the board is held accountable. The next thing I want us to discuss is the financial management, and we looked at it under disclosure and transparency. And write your financial story by recording all the money coming in and coming and going out. I always remember when I was working, and they implemented a system that recorded all the calls that we made, the duration and the cost. And I was so horrified when I saw how long I had taken on some of the calls. I am seeing Michelle's hand is raised up. Michelle, Grace, we wait. Should I finish? Then we take the questions.
Yes, please. And she has put her hand down.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right, yeah. So financial management, as I said, what does the story say about you? For big organizations, they are moving towards disclosing more and more, because that transparency is what is required. We now know what the CEOs of Safaricom and the listed companies earn, because they are required to disclose. Before we didn't know, but now we know, because there is more and more disclosures that are required. But for us, it starts with keeping proper records. Proper records also help us to plan, because we need to plan for retirement, we need to plan to have a house, we need to plan for our families. So if we don't start with keeping records, then planning becomes difficult. And then once we get into business, then we should separate all our financials to enable us make informed decisions. So financial management, that's a whole topic on its own. But for now, I would say it's important to keep records. And as you grow, have them audited, because that gives credibility. And then as you grow, continue to disclose more and more. When you go to get a loan in a bank, or when you invite people to buy shares in your company, one of the things they will need to look at is your financials. So having a habit of keeping records gives you a direction. And remember, it's only what is measured that is done. So I would like to leave the financial management there, but it's critical, and it's one of the main pillars of governance. Remember that organizations went under because their finances were cooked. So it is very important for us to keep proper records. The other one is stakeholder engagement. And this is one that we don't always think about. But who are our stakeholders? And these are individuals or groups with an interest in us as individuals, and who will be affected by our deliverables and outcomes or that we do. They have an impact and are impacted by what we do. So we have internal stakeholders and who affect us directly and indirectly. So when you look at an organization, you have internal stakeholders who are mainly the employees, the management, and the owners. And sometimes we can also put the board there. But we also have external stakeholders who are the suppliers, the government, the creditors, who would be your bankers, and other financiers, shareholders, customers, and the society. The society is there. You might ask yourself, why is it important as an individual for me to think about stakeholder management? But the effective management of stakeholder interests creates goodwill, and it promotes positive image for you, and it enhances achievement of goals, and you have fewer surprises, and you have better engagement. If you are staying in a block of apartments, your neighbors are your stakeholders. You can't say, because I own this house, I can do whatever I want, because your actions affect the neighbors, and the actions of the neighbors affect you. So you have to live in harmony. And the same thing with everybody that we deal with. These are our stakeholders. We have to think, how do we manage them? How do we manage these relationships? Because they affect us and we affect them. So we have to live in harmony. And how do we manage this? We need to conduct a stakeholder mapping and determine how we will relate with each stakeholder. And we'll have to move away from just paying our contribution and look at positive ways of engagement. So those are our stakeholders. For bigger companies, they sit down and do what we call the stakeholder mapping, and they document how they are going to engage with all these stakeholders. So all of us have stakeholders. We start with our internal stakeholders, is our family, but then we have external stakeholders, which are the same, our suppliers, society, and government, because you have to pay our taxes, and our customers if we have a business. So that's stakeholder management. Remember, we need to think about them because their actions affect us and our actions affect them. The other one is risk management. And for many years when I started, we didn't talk a lot about risk, but now risk has become very important. And risk is the possibility that an outcome will not be as expected. So why do we need to manage our risks? We need to manage the threats and the opportunities. And this is a process where we identify, assess, and control threats to us as individuals, because it affects our capital and our earnings. And I would also add our health. It considers the various potential risks of events before they occur and helps a person to save money and protect their future. And the sources of risk are many. They stem from a wide variety of sources: financial insecurity, uncertainty, infrastructure, accidents, natural disasters. So last year, when we think about risk management, we work with the information we have. Last year, nobody could have thought about COVID, but COVID happened. But notwithstanding, we need to sit down and think, what are the risks that we are exposed to? Operationally, that's why we ensure that wherever we stay, we don't leave things all over, because they could cause an accident. And then we manage our finances, and then we guard our reputation. If we need a job, we need to go and get a letter from the government on good conduct. And if we have messed up and our reputation is at stake, the job that we are looking for is also at stake. So we need to ensure And remember that our actions need to ensure that we protect our reputation. And then credit, we need to ensure that when we take any loan, we'll pay. Because again, if we don't pay, we'll be put on the credit bureau listing, and we may not be able to get another loan. So these are all the risks. When you take a loan, there's a risk that you will default. So what do you do to ensure that you protect yourself? And that's why, again, we take insurance covers for health. We take a minimum, at least the NHIF, because the chances of getting sick is very real, especially in these days. So risk management is important, and all of us are exposed to risk. So we just need to manage them and mitigate them. So why is risk management important to us as individuals? Because it helps us to be proactive rather than reactive. So I throw it back to you. How are you managing your risks? And do you have a risk management policy? This is a big thing in big organizations. And probably some people who have attended work in the risk department, because they have seen for all the organizations, risk is very critical. And so one of the parameters, again, is risk management. The other one that we need to consider is compliance. And when we think about compliance, we must ensure that we adhere to all the standards, and especially we have to identify all the laws and regulations. So if I buy a car, the first thing I have to know is not enough for me to just know how to drive. I have to know the rules and regulations of driving, because if I don't know, then I'm at risk of not being compliant. And why is it necessary? In order to fulfill external requirements for loans and jobs, we need to develop and adopt internal policies and procedures. These policies and procedures are more often than not documented, but we live them. So you might have heard your parents say, we don't do this in this house. It's not written anywhere, but we live them, and this is the way we run our house, because we know that this way, if we don't do this, then we'll not meet certain things that we have planned for. The policies relate to what we want to achieve, and the procedures reflect how you actually go about doing your daily routines. If, for instance, you have children and you change schools, and you go to the new school and they give you all the requirements, and they tell you that the school, you have to be there by 8. You'll go and buy all the things that they have requested you to do. And when you come back home, depending on where you stay, you'll ensure that the children sleep at a certain time so that you wake up in time for you to be at school at 8. So once you know what are your external requirements, then you come in and implement internal policies and procedures which will help you meet those requirements. So in organizations, policies and procedures should be documented. I remember one time when I was working, and one of the auditors came to visit us, and they asked my boss, how do you do this, this certain procedure? And my boss gave a very elaborate procedure, which was very good. So the auditor then asked, can I have a copy of that policy and procedure that you have just shared so well? And my boss said, it's all in my head. So most of our policies are all in our head, and we have not documented them. So for organizations, my encouragement is start documenting them, so that you will when people come, you're able to take them through, and then you're able to follow consistently what is required. Again, if you need a letter of conduct, then you must ensure every day you're doing what is required, so that again, when you do go to the government office, CID headquarters, you'll get that letter. And now we are being required, as we apply for jobs, as we apply, become a director, as we apply for tenders, we have been asked for tax compliance. And then it will go back to our financials, which have to be up to date, and we have to have paid our tax, and we have to be compliant, because if we are not, then it jeopardizes our opportunities. So what are the benefits of compliance? It gives us a strategic advantage, it gives us margin, and it takes us it keeps us on the right side of the law. It also helps to preserve our reputation, and it helps us to get loans and certain jobs. So then, are you compliant? Are your policies and procedures, if you have an organization, documented? Is it clear, so that you ensure that you are compliant? The other one is ethics. And ethics is a tricky one. You can see we are weighing, is it right, is it wrong? Because what is right to me might be wrong to you, and vice versa. But ethics are moral principles that guide a person's behavior. And these morals are shaped by social norms, cultural practices, and religious influences. And all decisions have an ethical or moral dimension for the simple reason they have an effect on others. So personal ethics is the code of ethical guidelines that guides you on your personal and professional life. And for organizations, what they do, they develop a code of conduct and ethics to ensure that everybody is reading from the same page, and that the ethics of the organizations is conducted. So how do we develop ethics? We make a mental note of our beliefs and practices. Our beliefs will help shape our ethics and define part of our identity. And a personal code of ethics reflects our ideas and philosophies and what we believe. And it ensures that our beliefs are not price pegged. And what I mean by that is that, they say every man has his price. So this is what I do, but if you give me this money, then I can do something different. So ensure that your beliefs are not price pegged, but that you stand for them, because it's because of this that so many things are also not going very well. So benefits, it protects our brand and reputation, and people trust us, and there is loyalty, and there is stakeholder confidence, because people will know. If you take a friend, if you asked your friend to describe you, how would they say about your ethics? Would they say that every man has his price, meaning that you're talking, but if you're given the right price, you will do what you are saying is wrong, will become right to you. So that's on ethics. And my final slide is on governance, is on social responsibility. And as an individual, we should act in every way that enhances the society and its inhabitants, and be held accountable for any of our actions that affect people and our communities and their environment. So we should be keeping the environment clean, planting trees, doing our part, because I always like what Wangari Maathai said when she gave the illustration of the hummingbird. And this hummingbird was picking a drop of water with its beak from the ocean and trying to stop a forest which was on fire. So no matter how little, we can also contribute and give back to society. And how do we remain socially responsible? By doing things that meet the needs of the present without compromising their ability to sustain development needs and objectives. So we may need to incur some short-term costs to ensure that we remain responsible. And a person's success is based not only on their economic returns, but on how they affect the environment and how they impact the society. So benefits include a healthy environment, tax benefits, and in case of green energy and customer loyalty. So even as an individual, you can have a CSR program because we need to be responsible and give back to society. Again, that's why you see all these big organizations, all of them have a social responsibility, and this is a big one. You'll actually see now, even in the big reports of big companies like Safaricom and listed banks, they have a social responsibility report as well, because they are required to say what and to disclose what they are doing and regarding the environment. So I would like, my last slide is if governance principles are applicable to an individual, then good governance makes business sense. So I'd like to stop there and maybe take any questions.
Thank you so much, Lucy. That was deep. That was deep. You know, sometimes you listen to this and you're like, okay, I need to do a governance audit on my own life, you know?
Yes.
And not just for the organizations, but even personally. And I
Yes.
like the financial part. And I also found it interesting on the ethics part. You know, when you're talking about it, I'm like, okay. So when we are caught by the police in Kenya, even let me just give them as an example. And Father Baptist, don't kill me, and Hausi, please don't kill me. Most of us will, including the priests and including
Yes.
the people who we thought are morally upright, will do what Kenyans do.
Yes.
And is that going against your ethics, or is that because I know corruption is a big what if? I mean, it's a give,
Yes.
it's a big parameter when it comes to ethics. So
yes.
in Kenya, where corruption runs the day, what can we do? How can we make a better society? And sorry, I'm starting off with a very difficult question.
Okay, well, I read a small book that a friend of mine wrote, and the small book said corruption starts with me. So, you know, it starts with me. So, and I'll go back to what Wangari Maathai, that little illustration of the hummingbird. No matter how small, at least for you, be accountable. Yeah, do your part. You know, we cannot, I know it becomes very distressing, and when we think about the corruption and when we begin to talk about what is happening, it's a very, very stressing story. But we can say, what can I do as an individual? I may not be accountable to what the government is doing and other people, but I'm accountable to what I'm doing. So, and if people were to audit me, would I stand the test?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry guys, today I have a cold. We are trying to make it, so you will apologize, you will bear with me. So one who is asking, how do you balance governance from a personal level and that of the company where there is conflict?
Now you have to call me again to give you more on governance. Today, I just touched one small bit on how governance can be applied to individuals. But if I was looking at an organization, I would actually say part of your code of conduct would include what we call conflict of interest. And we are required, even if it looks like there is some conflict, any resemblance, then you should actually disclose. And what listed companies are required is that as they share their agenda, they also disclose whether there are any conflict of interest in the items that they are going to discuss. And if they have, they can choose to step aside, and so that when that item is being discussed, they are not there, but then we are required to actually ensure that there is no conflict of interest. And to ensure that it's included in your letter of offer as a director, that there should be no conflict of interest, or you should disclose, you sign for it, and it's part of your code of conduct, and even for not just the board, but even for staff. That's why you hear we have been told, don't do similar work that your organization is doing, because you're a conflict of interest. Yeah.
Okay, all right. John Wawero says, is there a difference between governance and organization capacity assessment?
Organization?
Capacity assessment.
I think I would have to look at organization capacity assessment. Some of the things may be the same, but I would think that the capacity is looking more at what is your capacity. And of course, your capacity will be, governance will play a big part, but some things that you find in governance, you will not have seen capacity, and vice versa. Yeah. I don't know which one will be a subset of the other. Yeah.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Mr. John Wawero. I can see someone else is saying, can one be an advisor for several firms, or are you limited because of the conflict of interest?
Now, again, a very good question. For listed companies, if they are similar organizations, like if I'm a director in a bank and I'm appointed in another bank, then I would have to, decline or resign. But when you are an advisor, provided you're not using the same, there's no conflict of interest, you can still be. Incidentally, again, even if you are just an advisor, you also are required to sign a conflict of interest. Yeah, because you'll be getting information on the organization which you shouldn't use, for other organizations. It should just be kept to the organization. Yeah.
Oh, okay. When it comes to risk, what are some of the tools? And I know quite a number of people here are small business owners. How can they be able to come up with, or rather analyze their risks and also come up with mitigating factors? Are there tools that they can use, and especially for small business owners?
There are actually some tools, but for now you can actually start by just listing all the most likely risks that can happen, but there are actually tools which are there.
Okay.
So maybe what we should also invite next time, Grace, is a risk expert, because there's a whole process of assessing those risks. Yeah.
Okay, that is noted. We shall have that for season 3 for sure. There's a question that had come. The conversation was well needed. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be a board member?
Okay, also a good question. First of all, there is the Institute of Directors, there is Women's in Board, and they take their members through some training. So you can start by joining there, at least prepare yourself. And then some organizations advertise. So, you can actually apply. And sometimes when I am helping organizations build governance, advisory boards, they ask me whether I know somebody. So you can actually reach out to me. So I just keep my name in the database, and should an organization that I'm helping build their advisory board or a board need, I could always share with them.
Okay, I want to be a board member, Lucy. There's an anonymous attendee who is saying, why is employment of relatives not a good corporate governance practice?
Because again of conflict of interest. But again, if you have good policies and procedures and you ensure that they are adhered to, even that relative can also, and then there is no favorism, then that even the relative can work. But sometimes if again, you come and they feel they are above the law, then you spoil everything. So if I was to bring my relative, then it's like, these are the rules, will you adhere to them? Yeah. And first of all, are those policies, are they written down here? Sorry, yes?
No, go ahead, just finish.
Yeah, and those policies and procedures should be adhered to consistently across the organization so that people would see that there is no favorism. Yeah. Okay, and for most small organizations, actually, they are family-based. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about that in relation, because I know an organization that, because when there's sad news in the family, the two people will have to leave, and probably both of them hold very crucial positions in the organization. So they used to say there are some positions that they cannot employ relatives in as much as they want, it's a family-owned business. But there's some positions they can't have relatives, because if something happens, they'll both go. So for example, there's death in the family, there's sickness or something, and then they lose man hours and a few other things that affect family setup. So not only the Nino. Somebody is saying, does the number of years experience in your major, let's say finance, matter when you want to become a board member? And can you train to be a board member even with 5 years of experience?
Okay, a good question again. I would say you can become a board member at any stage, because there is something you can offer. You remember now we are saying the composition of board of directors, you should have young people, have both genders, older people, and some of the young people have very good ideas, and it's good for us to give them an opportunity as we train them as well. Yeah, and then what happens with the board of directors? Okay, they should ideally be an expert in their field, but they also continue to learn. So one of the things we talk about helping directors is to continue professional education, so that they are allowed to do so many hours every year, so that they remain relevant and remain equipped. Yes, you can, but the more experience you get, the more better place that you are become a director.
Okay, because then you can become a better advisor, because you kuishi kwingi kuona mengi. Apologies to the people who don't speak French. So Jackie is saying, is a director with more than 90% holding conflicted if he's the CEO?
Now, another very good question. If the director holds more than 90% and he's the CEO, yes, that director, if he's the CEO, can be a director and will be an executive director, but then we would encourage that board of directors to have other non-executive, and those non-executive directors, we say like a third of them should be independent. So they don't own shares, they don't deal with the organization, so that they can give an independent opinion. But yes, if you are the owner of the company, of course you'll be the director, but then bring in other people who are independent so that they can give you independent advice.
And that brings me to asking, the small business owners, because most likely they are individuals, they run a business name, but they want to have governance. How can they go ahead and appoint a board? Because they also can't afford to pay sitting allowances.
Again, a very good question. And next time again you call me, we can do just on advisory board. But what I would advise the small the sole proprietor is to start with an advisors who you see occasionally, as and when you need the advice.
Like mentors and coaches?
Yes, like mentors and coaches, yeah. So that then as you grow, then you can have a formal advisory board, and then you can then move on when you change your registration to have then a full board. But it doesn't mean, remember whatever I was sharing as an individual. And as an individual, you can have an advisory board. So how much more as a proprietor? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my people who are running small businesses, I personally have a peer board, so to speak, where we meet at least once a month and we just discuss and bounce off ideas to each other and just support each other in the business. Is that part of what you're talking about?
Yes, yeah. But then as you grow, then you may want to make it formal, and then have a board that then you register the board members in the register of companies. Yeah.
Okay. Stanley is saying, is it right for shareholding directors to recommend persons to be appointed as independent directors? Would this amount to conflict of interest? And before you answer that, allow me to let you know that this webinar series is brought to you by Atara Solutions in partnership with Balcon Housing and Stallion Construction Company. Right, go ahead, Lucy. Is it right for shareholding directors to recommend persons to be appointed as independent directors? And would this amount to conflict of interest?
Now, okay, you remember I said, first of all, before we appoint, we will look at what are our gaps. Because we want to say we need somebody in finance. We need, just the same way when we are, and Grace, you'll agree to this, when an organization is appointing a staff member, they will be filling a gap. So you as a director, you're actually filling a gap that has been raised. Now, if the members of the board have somebody, they will actually disclose, I know Grace. Personally, I know Grace. So they have actually disclosed that they know Grace. We grew up together. We meet in various circles, but I know she's a good person. So I've already disclosed that I know her. Yeah, so that I'm not bringing her, and I know, and then I also say, I also know what she can bring on the table. And remember, even for Grace, when she's looking for staff in organizations, she does a lot of headhunting. So you can't headhunt from the board, but at least let them meet the criteria. And then at least even you as a board of director, Mark, you now also, you're not bringing somebody who, again, we said the qualities of the people who you bring are people who add value. So you're not bringing somebody because they will get the allowance, but you want the organization to grow.
Yeah. So allow me to take this chance to share with you, where is this? What is on offer by Pathway Solutions for your trainings coming up. So we have instructor-led Zoom meetings on 17th. 17th is tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is on project management part 2. So if you missed part 1, you can always catch up with part 2, but I'm sure this is a continuation. So tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., Pathway Solutions will be taking you through project management part 2. And then on 17th again, tomorrow at 7:30 to 9 p.m., they will be discussing work balance life. So work-life balance is what will be happening tomorrow from 7:30 p.m. And then on 19th, which is Friday, they will be discussing entrepreneur character. What are the characteristics of a successful entrepreneur? And this is from 8 to 9 p.m. on Friday, from 8 to 9 p.m. And then reinventing yourself and business after disruptions. This is actually a repeat because apparently due to public demand. So reinventing yourself and business after disruptions is coming to you on 24th, which is next week from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. So please create time to attend these instructor-led Zoom meetings from tomorrow to next week. And for the different topics, please take note. To book your sessions, kindly email frank@pathwaysolutions solutionsservice.co.uk, frank@pathwaysolutions services.co.uk, or you can email us at info@atarasolutions.co.ke, again info@atarasolutions.co.ke, and we will be able to link you up. You can also email trainingsolutions services@gmail.com, trainingsolutions services@gmail.com. Training solution is with an S and then services with an S as well. So if you're looking to get to understand project management part 2 tomorrow from 1 p.m., from 11 p.m. And then tomorrow evening, there's also work-life balance from 7:30. And then on Friday, it's entrepreneur character from 8. And then reinventing yourself will be next week from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. So if you want to take part in any of these sessions, kindly get in touch with us. Yes, the training sessions are fully sponsored. Yes, so they are part of our partners. They have also been with us and enabling us to take this to bring these sessions to you. So in the meantime, next week, we are definitely here to bring to you the last, not the last, actually it's the last Zoom episode, because on 30th of November, we are going to be at Parkland Sports Club for our meet and greet. This is your opportunity to network. I am opening my doors with all my networks. They're going to be present, so come and take advantage and get to learn, as well as create new contacts and get to have fun, eat, and I'm sure you'll get business or career advancement from that session. Somebody saying, Grace, we need another session to discuss more on full board and advisory board. I want to be a board member. Thank you for hosting this session. Lucy, thank you. We will make arrangements, but if you're looking for somebody to take your team through governance, Lucy is always available. She has a lot of information on corporate governance and individual governance. So don't feel stuck. And I think she can even coach you at a fee. India, Lucy, the person who wants to become a member, a board member. Maggie, you should see Lucy on the side. She can coach you on how to become a board member and advance your career as well. Somebody saying, please, after the training, please offer certificates. And unfortunately, with Atara Solutions, we are not able to offer certificates because we don't charge you for this. So we try to keep our costs slightly lower. But if you want a certificate, you can always get in touch with me and pay a fee, and can probably be able to process that for you. Pathway Solutions, if you're on their LMS, they actually give you certificates for attending the sessions. So for us, unfortunately, for this season, we have not been able to do this, but our mission is to change the world through information. So learn as much as you can, in as much as you don't have a certificate to prove that you attended the training. Learn as much as you can, because this will change your lives. So Lucy, parting shot. Oh wait, before you parting shot, this webinar is brought to you by Atara Solutions in partnership with Balcon Housing and Stallion Construction Company. Lucy, give us your parting shot.
So I hope that you now see that governance can be applied to an individual, a company, just as the big listed companies have. And what we do at our Business Deepening Hub, we help you chart your governance journey. So we help you map where you are and help where you want to be in the short run, and then in the long run, where you want to be. We help set advisory boards. We also train directors. So feel free to reach out to us if you need any of that kind of help. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you, Jerry. I am really struggling today, but I am the real definition of no matter how you feel, wake up, dress up, and show up. Right. So thank you so much, Lucy. Lucy has promised to share with us the notes. So we will share the notes with you. Lucy, if you can answer Maggie's question. James Karaoke wanted to say something. We can allow you to talk. James Karaoke, your hand is up, so go ahead. Go ahead and unmute yourself. James Karaoke. James Karaoke. All right. So if you want to get to know more about, yes, Lucy's company is called Business Deepening Hub. Deepening is DEEP.
And we are based at the Sandbox.
Yes, they are at the Sandbox. Say hi to Joram and Cynthia for me. Chris as well. But her contact will be on I hope it's on the presentation, right? Probably towards the end, you can put it there. And we're going to share with you guys, as always, as we share the recording over the weekend. The recording to this session, if you've missed anything, will be up on Friday in the afternoon. So you can check out our YouTube channel. Jacinta, if you can post the link to our YouTube channel, you can always get information. Please share tips for us who sit in boards as ex-officios. It can get frustrating not getting our papers approved. Maybe you can just say something on that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just ask again. Which papers are not approved?
Yeah, ex-officios.
Okay. Ex-officios, they need to stay away for a while before then they can become directors. But you can actually look at other places, not necessarily the same organization. But I don't know whether I'm answering the question, because when you say ex-officios, is it board members in their own organization?
Maybe Brenda, you can clarify that. We can actually allow you to talk. I have seen James Karaoke has unmuted himself. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I was trying to ask the same question about board members.
Yes.
And I also wanted to know about the certification.
Certification in terms of?
In terms of whatever we have been following up. We have been following up so many topics on different issues. That certification, can we get after payment of the required fee?
We can make arrangements, yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we can make arrangements to get certificates. Brenda is saying managers presenting board papers to board committees. That is additional to what they were asking.
Okay, what I understand is that as a board, we allow management and members of management to sit in the board, especially when they are presenting their papers, and to also give us more information. So most of the time you are allowed to sit in, but then you are not a board member. So, but with time you can be appointed to be a board. But for now, I can say that board can allow management to sit in and share with them as they present certain items. But they will be there as management, but not members of the board. Having said that, if there is an opportunity, the board can always appoint some executive members who will be part of management to be part of the board.
Yeah. Okay. George Wasike is asking, do you train on how to do board papers?
Yeah. Also that I train.
Okay. So, right, for all your governance issues or your journey, you're beginning your journey to being a board member or at a personal level, or you're running a small business and you'd want governance to be part of your journey, Lucy is there to support you and to advise. We are going to try and host Lucy again in season 3, so that we can get to understand this board thing. You know me, I know about boards because we were forced to do mwongozo. For those of you who have done CHRP, you know mwongozo is part of part of our exams in CHRP to become certified HR professionals. So that one we have no choice but to understand it a bit. But of course, anytime we can always chat with Lucy. So thank you so much, our people. Thank you so much. Please don't forget about the what do we call it? The services being offered by Pathway Solutions. There's a training tomorrow afternoon. Please endeavor to attend. Thank you so much. Please let me remind you that we have a meet and greet session coming up on 30th of November. We have a beautiful panel of panelists. We have Buyanzi, Coach Buyanzi. She is an awesome coach. You can find her a recording of her session with us on our YouTube. By the way, the panelists you voted for, and they're going to help us unpack Align to Win. What does it really take to win? For those in business, you're wondering what is in store in this political season. You're also wondering, I mean, KRA is coming for you. We have a lot of challenges, climatic change. We have so many things that are pushing your business to the core, including non-payment or not having many clients. There's somebody who said, I've had one client since 2013. So how do we make sure that we are aligning to win? And what does it take? And what are the practical ideas that we can employ in our day-to-day running of our businesses or careers to actually make sure that we keep winning regardless of the challenges that we face? So we will be at Parkland Sports Club from 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, 30th. And we are charging a 3,500 CAM network. Please be ready with your elevator pitch, be ready with your dressing up. Yes, we have a dress code, which is cocktail wear with a touch of African. So this is where you can wear African earrings. For the men, you can have an African outfit, or you can put on those handkerchiefs, or what do you call them, or a bow tie that is African. Just come and have fun. I mean, it's been a while since we met in person, so please come and have fun on 30th of November. Please don't forget that Balcon Housing is giving us an 8-acre plot of land at 400,000 shillings, and they will tailor-make installments for you, and this is in Nanyuki. So Nanyuki, you all know, is a cosmopolitan town, and it's beautiful. Oh my God, it's so peaceful in Nanyuki. And you actually have a view of Mount Kenya. So take advantage of this offer. It's 400,000 shillings. So we are ending season 2 on 30th of November as we gear up for season 3. I hope you've been learning. Thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you so much, our attendees, for being here and for making the time every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. We have an interesting topic next week before we then go to Parkland Sports Club for a meet and greet. Please follow us on Instagram. We call ourselves Atara Solutions. Facebook, Atara Solutions. YouTube channel is Get It Right with Atara Solutions. And Jacinta has posted the link. Do not forget to be here with us next Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. As always, I'm happy to host. My name is Grace Nzula, HR practitioner, or rather HR consultant with Atara Solutions. We do a lot of training, so if you have training needs for your organizations, if you want to do a team building, get in touch with us and we're going to organize that for you. You have seen we have quite a huge network for whatever topic that you want to bring into your organization. Please get in touch with us. We are also trainers, so we have a one-stop shop for your training needs and HR solutions. So thank you so much, and have yourselves a lovely evening. Thank you, Pathway Solutions. Thank you, Balcon Housing. We are so honored to have you. As always, our audience, it's an honor. We wouldn't do this without you, to be honest. We wouldn't. So we are so grateful that you choose to be here every evening from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Tuesday. So Have yourselves a beautiful, beautiful night, my people.